Hello and welcome to our first lesson under the accounting module. My name is Tuladi and today I'll be taking us through how to create a company and set up its charts of accounts using the accounting module under ERPnext. So as a first-time user, once logged in, the system will require you to set up your company, and this can easily be done by going to our accounting module and into our company document and clicking add company. So once a fresh page appears, we will see a number of empty boxes where we can put some information for the company. So we have the company there, abbreviations there, domain, whether or not the company is a group. You can add the parent company if this is a sister or subsidiary company, the default currency, and the country. So the boxes that have the red marks can be considered as the most necessary ones, meaning that the document can't be saved if this information is not provided. But the rest of the information is equally important because it makes the use of the system more effortless. So, the company that we're going to use for today's lesson is called Dairy Milk. So as you can see, we have a number of companies that appear here. The intent behind the system being able to create multiple companies is to leave room for companies that might have subsidiaries or sister companies. So for the sake of this lesson, we'll only use one. But if your company happened to have a subsidiary or sister company, you can simply insert it on, or you can create the parent company, and then when creating the subsidiary, you can attach it under the subsidiary box. So this is the company that we're going to use for today's lesson. So as we get familiar with our ERP system, we'd like to introduce some of the most used features on the system. So the first thing we're going to look at is the E here. This works as our home button. So once this E has been clicked, it gives us access to all the available modules on our software. So that's if you are looking for a particular document, you can easily just go into the module and go direct to the document. Another part that's usually used is the search bar. So the search bar works for documents that you can't necessarily locate. If you don't know where the location is, you can easily just search for it in the search bar. And it also works for documents. There are certain documents that you can't access using the modules, and the only way that you can get to them is via searching. So we'll look at this in detail in future lessons. The next part that we're going to look at under the accounting module is our chart of accounts. So your chart of accounts is represented in a tree format, as we can see. So each and every company that you create in the system has got its own chart of accounts, meaning that the expenses, every single transaction that is done under that company is separate from the other unless otherwise. So for our demo company, we said we're going to use Dairy Milk. Then we're saying it's represented in a tree structure with group nodes, which are these, subgroup nodes, which are these, and then we have leaf nodes. So the leaf nodes are the only ones that are actually used in transactions. So your chart of accounts will contain your basic 5 accounting heads. So we have our assets here, or application of funds. We have our liabilities here, or source of funds, our equity, our income, and our expenses. So depending on your company, the books of accounts and how you keep them, we have our assets here, which are separated into current assets, bank accounts, cash in hand, and you can create ledgers under these subgroup nodes. And the way that you can do that is by adding a child. Then you can put your account's name, their account number, whether or not it's a group, your account type. So concentrating on account type, if you're going to be creating a bank account, you would put your account type as bank. If you're going to be creating an expense account, you would put your account type as expense account, and so on and so forth. So now we're going to, as you can see, you'll notice that the chart of accounts for this particular company is 0. So we're assuming that this is a new company, or this is a company that's already in existence, but this is when they're starting to use the system, or this is their first time having an ERP system introduced to them. So we have to find a way of transferring their current books or the current balances into the system, and this can be done using journal entries. We will look at journal entries closely in the next few lessons that we're going to have. So an opening balance can be defined as the balance of the ledgers on the day we start to use the system. So we simply open a journal entry and we start. So we can see that the company here is Trucks. So we are going to change this to the company that we're using for this particular demonstration, which is our Dairy Milk. And you will notice that Dairy Milk has got no journal entries, it's got no transactions that have taken place here. So we're going to do our first journal entry. So we're basically just transferring our current balances, our current books into the ERP system. So how we do this is we change the entry type from journal entry to opening entry. So depending on the ledgers that you created in your chart of accounts, it's going to fetch each and every ledger that you have. If you have a particular type of bank that you use, you can create that under the chart of accounts by adding child. If you have a specific expense account that you use, you can do the same for that, and the system will fetch those ledgers. So for this particular opening balance, we need both the credit and the debit side. So if we're going to be updating our system as per the books that we currently have, we'll have to debit each and every ledger that we created according to the books that we have, and then on the credit side we'll add our temporary opening balance. So our temporary opening balance will always zero out. So we add all our ledgers there, and then we credit the temporary opening balance, and we save this document. Once we save, we submit, and just like that, we are done. So we can check for these amounts in our chart of accounts, and we can reload this. We go to our company, and you'll notice that from 0 we now have about 3,000 kwacha in our accounts. So this is the easiest way to match or update our system if we are a new user. Another part of the system that we can look at is the ledger. So we can easily just open a particular group and we can view ledger from there. So that way we'll be able to see each and every transaction that took place. We can filter our ledger by date, and then we'll be able to see when the transaction happened and the relevant information attached to the transaction. So for the general ledger and the other ledgers, this will be a lesson on its own that's going to be tackled in more detail. But for now, this is basically how you do an opening entry, and that is our charts of accounts, and that is also how you create a company. So thank you so much for your time, and we'll see you in our next lesson, where we'll be looking at journal entries as well as expense entries in more detail. Thank you.